YouTube's taking a little longer this time. We'll get there.
So welcome Iris from Wales, Stephen from Vermont. Welcome. John from West Hollywood. Welcome Ma from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Diana from New Orleans. Welcome. Don from Houston, Sue from Canada. Jetka from Houston. Wow, welcome everyone. Zefipta from Oklahoma, Al from Malaysia, really all over the world. Guy from Green, Oregon. This series has been the best one ever. So powerful. Thank you. Welcoming Nicola from England. Willow from Ontario, Canada. Welcome. Carrie from Tejada, California. Wow. So welcome Resinet and Fa Uzer from Linden, Guyana. Welcome Ma, I already said. Let's see if there's anyone else. Love. So it looks like we are on YouTube as well as here. And I'm going to officially welcome our featured speaker today. First of all, welcoming all of you here at Keepers of Humanity. And I am so delighted to bring you the voices of indigenous wisdom keepers, spiritual guides, healers, shamans, musicians, creatives, revolutionaries who hold the keys, codes, wisdom, and secrets that are needed now to give you access to the eternal cosmic consciousness, to guide you on how to break free from old stagnant patterns and transform them into new perceptions of what is possible into the miracle realm of earth, so that together all of us can construct a bright and vibrant future with its foundation solidly rooted in love, joy, compassion, and truth. I'm Dr. Marie Mbuni, and I'll be your host and guide for this interview. And today it is my deep honor, and I present you with reverence and humbly High Priest Iritah Shenmira. Naba, which means high priest, Naba Iritah Shenmira is a healer from the Dogon bloodline of Merita, which means Africa, with guidance from the ancestors and elders of the Gulmu lineage of Burkina Faso, as well as various kingships. Iritah has been chosen to continue the work begun by his father, Naba Lamusa Morodenibek, to reunite the traditional cultures of the world and preserve Kemetic culture. Iritah has undergone many initiations and worked with many traditional priests, including training intensely with his father in the last few years of his life. He is a temple and wisdom keeper and shares his knowledge with the West, uniting people from all backgrounds, and I love that inclusivity. He is now the director of the MTAM Mystery School Temples worldwide and currently serves as the executive director of the Ancasta Natural Healing. Iritah is the co-founder of the Book of Purifications, Initiatic Tales of the Heshptah and Philosophy Podium, a Dogon perspective. beautiful book. And he leads annual pilgrimages to West Africa and is an experienced lecturer in French and English. I promise you, we're not going to move into French because, as you know, I'm from Cameroon and I'm from the French part speaking, and in Burkina Faso, they do speak French as well. And the topic of our interview today is the Dogon understanding of time and space, Earth's dialogue of energy. Welcome again, Naba
Thank
Iritah.
you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We're very honored to be here. And thank you for having me. Uh, I pray that this exchange gets to, uplift every spirit that's listening and watching. And those that are in their houses or occupied and didn't get a chance to be present. I pray that our intentions and our wishes go to all of those people as well to benefit from the energy that we're about to share.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to dive right in for those who don't know. Could you please share with us who are the Dogon?
Thank you very much. Well, let me start by calling upon all of the ancestors, all of the spirits, all of the great pathfinders that walk this path, that walk this earth before all of us trying our best to unite the wisdom of the ancient. I want to acknowledge my father for the work, for paving the path, clearing the path for me to be walking this way, and all of the people that have been supportive and that have been helping, that have been also guiding me when need is. I really wish that Mother Earth, all of her powers, the stars, all of their powers, keep shining our steps, keep shining our hearts, keep shining our mind in every endeavor that we really, engage ourselves in. The Dogons, yeah, there's been a lot of books, a lot of, things, said about the Dogons. And it's just a normal tribe as any other tribe that may exist in any indigenous, area of Mother Earth. And the tribe came to be very well known for its knowledge, its mastery in the astronomy and astrology, and the stars and all of that. So we are a descent of the Nile Valley, the civilization born in Nile Valley in Egypt. So at some point during the invasion of the temples in Egypt and the civilization in Egypt, some of our elders have to move, they have to migrate. And the migration was ordered by the ruler at that moment, and that was Ramses the second, Ramses the second, who ordered, for all of the elites and all of the wisdom keepers to kind of move and migrate in with the goal to protect the knowledge and whatever the spiritual and the physical acquisitions that our ancestors already kind of acquired and then preserved. The reason is because the reason of the migration is because some of those information didn't need to fall in the hands of those who were coming to invade, because those information are considered to be highly spiritual and highly esoteric and mystic. So it was better to kind of move and establish somewhere the invader doesn't have a way of reaching us. So during the migration, there have been a lot of settlements that happen uh, along the river, the Nile River, and they invader didn't stop because he was after something and he needed it. So apparently our ancestors decided, to come up with this idea to kind of establish themselves in between the Sahara Desert and the coast of the Western African Atlantic. So from there, we were able to, set up and station and restart everything, reconvene and restart everything, but with the order not to rebuild the culture or the civilization, gigantically as it was built in Nile Valley, which kind of was, attracting people, to come. So then for generations, and that's like many, many generations, we've been hiding in this around the Sahara Desert and then around the, western part of Africa, in many tribes, we settled in many tribes. And we are custodian, of some of the important, knowledge and wisdom that since the time of the Pharaoh, whatever were kind of worked to acquire it. So we kind of the custodian of it, and we have the responsibility to protect it, preserve it, and then come out, you know, to start sharing it whenever need is. So for many generation, we've been in that situation of hiding and preserving, living a simple life to the point where when you come to our villages, you would think we just, just like mud clouds and, you know, dirty feet and, elders with cola nut in their mouth and then all of that. And you will not think that we have any knowledge of anything until it took the French, research ethnologues to arrive and then live a little bit with us and try to understand these people have higher technology than what the modern society may consider to, to have or to have achieved. So from there, the order came at some point according to the prophecy, and it's not just only the Dogon prophecy, because in trying to, go through the divinations into the temples to try to understand all of the energy that's controlling the whole, planet at this point, we came to understand that many other prophecies also, were converging towards the same prophecy that our ancestors kind of left behind, which is around this time we have to come out and then start sharing. And that's what we started doing. And my father, who I removed my heart for in this situation, to pay honor to him, and respect him. He was the first one who got the permission by the dignitaries and the royalties in the Gulmu kingdom to start kind of building this bridge in between the Western world and the traditional world, and in between the world that is visible, very materialistic, with the world that is invisible and non-materialistic, because the two worlds are in some type of dualistic situation and they have to work together. So he was given the permission to travel and start sharing the knowledge. So after he transitioned 2008, that's when I get to be chosen to be the next to continue this job. And so far, with all of the supporters, we've been trying our best, and the world is coming together. And that's why I'm very, very honored to be on this panel, to be invited to this conference.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. This is very, very precious knowledge, and we are here firsthand with this keeper of this tradition. As you were speaking, I was tuning in to our audience. So many people come here because they feel like they have a gift, right? And one of those gifts is, some people say, I think I want to be a healer. And could you share with us, what is a healer actually?
Uh, yeah, thank you. the healing, healing is not just physical. Healing is not only physical, it's mental, it's psychological, it's energetic, and healing is about the stability that we may experience in our surrounding, you know. So for us, the Dogon, our understanding of healing is almost like some type of art, a way of life, a style. It's like a lifestyle, to be a healer. And that lifestyle demands, for the best of its practicality to be able to, first heal the surrounding. Because the healing, most of the time, we would think that the healing has to start from inside, but sometimes the main healing that needs to really happen, like needs to start from the outside because we eat food, we drink water. Our destiny is linked to Mother Earth. We were born on it, we will live on it until it's time for us to go. So because our destiny is linked to Mother Earth, then the very first step towards, becoming a healer is learning how to harmonize with the energies that are manifesting, on Mother Earth, starting with the Earth itself and going to the powers that, Mother Earth itself kind of, manifested, meaning like the mountains, the trees, the rivers, and even the rock that you come across on the crossroad, is also part of the harmony that's been, restored. So that's why in our culture, we just don't move things around randomly and we don't, obstruct rivers. We don't cut, the forest down to, just kind of, build our houses, anything. We kind of choose where nature allow us to do that. So healing is that way of life where like you start, maintaining some type of stability and following a principle of harmonization, between you and everything that, is in your environment, in your surrounding. And from there, you can start kind of, grounding yourself and being able to now benefiting from those powers, those entities from outside who comes to now kind of, feed you with the energies and with the abilities, that are needed for, you to manifest that. But to be a healer, to just mention that to be a healer, you have to be available. You have to be available. You have to be someone that love themselves first. You have to learn how to love yourself before you can, move forward trying to, love, someone and then help them come up of their ailments or their problem. So as I said, it's energetic, spiritual, mental, but also physical. But all of those, three-dimensional aspect of healing are very important for the healer themselves to be able to love themselves. So you have to align with yourself first, and then being able to align with yourself, you kind of, urge Mother Earth and all of the powers on it to kind of feed you. Where like you can even go to sleep. You think you're sleeping, and then your spirit is maybe somewhere in Australia, doing some healing, or your spirit is somewhere in Rio de Janeiro, doing some healing. And then the person who's in Rio de Janeiro suffering will wake up and then I feel like something just happened and then it's magical. So Mother Earth has that power. And that's why we have the title of the Bible and the dialogue of energies. That's really like how we kind of perceive healing to be.
I really love that, and I have experienced it as well. But I just want to, take a moment here to point and anchor some of the things that you said. Number one, the healer, heal thyself, starting with our own healing first. And number two, I love the principle of harmonization, right? Healing your surroundings. It's like If you are in a place that is really cluttered, that is not a welcoming space for the
Yeah.
divine, for the energies, right, to come. And ourselves clearing our channel.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? How are you behaving in order to receive this grace that is the healing power, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's the main thing, me traveling, being on this journey and traveling around the world, I get to really see the main problem that humanity, we're dealing with, and even us, all of us, the wisdom keepers and the healers, we have to come to the understanding of Mother Earth. You know, we have to come to understand that our destiny is linked to it, and the more harmonious, we keep, our environment, our surrounding, the more respectful we are to the powers that Mother Earth herself kind of, allows to, come out of, the core of it, her energies to kind of grow. The more we respect those things, the more kind of we recharging ourselves, the more we put in some order in the way that we kind of, manifesting or vibrating, in our environment. So the healer is, firstly, the healer is someone who's clean. You have to keep yourself, you have to be clean to be able to attract the invisible forces to you. Because the invisible forces and the invisible powers, or even the divine powers, they don't like dirtiness. They don't like, corruption. They don't like things that are, spoiling. They enjoy the cleanness. Because they dwell in the light. Because they dwell in the light. So we have to be able to create some light in here, to be able to really manifest that, to be able to kind of, because the light sees the light, for sure. The light is the light. And then with that kind of mentality, us, the healers, all of us aspiring to become healers, we have to already start kind of putting there the mentality or the will to have our surrounding, our dwelling, even our dwelling, and our environment, we have to be able to keep it, harmonious and stable, and then respecting it. And, kind of looking at those creations, with some reverence. And that will kind of what will come to really, feed our, energy core for us to really manifest that kind of energy. Because every human being can be a healer, as long as you eat food, you drink water, you go to sleep, you wake up, when you wake up, you have to put some clothes on, you have to do things. That means that you already healing yourself. You're already taking care of yourself. And already taking care of yourself is like something that is already deciding for you to even not just be like individualistic, but also think collectively. And then when you start learning how to think collectively, like, okay, I have this person who's, not having some food to eat. Let me cook some and serve them some. That's healing, you know. So, I mean, traditionally we live that kind of life, and they call it like collectivism, or like the life where like we like sharing, the same bowl for many people. But when we do that, healing is happening right away. We all, putting our hands in the food and to eat and share and all that, we exchange a lot of energy at that moment. But we don't do it, standing up, or we don't do it like being suspended. We do it sitting on earth. We sit on the ground. So, and then one thing I really want to insist on is that our mothers are the greatest healers ever. And I mean, I take this opportunity to honor all of the mothers, for the Mother's Day yesterday. Our mothers are like the greatest healers. Any woman will really acknowledge, her divine, divine feminine, her divine power is already a healer naturally. I mean, you go in the kitchen, you have everything that you just mix them, and then you give us to eat, and then we like, hey, life energy is back, life goes on, and all of that. So healing is everywhere in every aspect. You know.
Mm. Happy Mother's Day,
Happy
honoring
Mother's Day. Happy Mother's to all the
everyone.
mothers. Yeah,
Yes. And, I love how practical, the wisdom you're sharing with us is. Who's going to declutter and clean their space to welcome more light
I'm
or
good.
their inside?
I'll do that. Yeah.
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 I
Yes.
want to continue the conversation with you, Naba Iritah.
Yeah.
And one of the things being from Africa, there was colonization and I experienced what happened. And I wanted to ask you, how has colonization affected our understanding of spirituality? This is a big one for me, and I would like to hear from you.
It's a big one for, for the whole planet at this point. You know, uh, the African tradition, no matter where you're from in on the motherland, is first and foremost oral tradition. And oral tradition meaning you learn, or the wisdom or the knowledge is transmitted from older generation to the younger generation, and from the father to the son, the mother to the daughter, or from a master or a teacher to a disciple. So for a long time, when the European and the Arabs, came to our continent and found out that we don't have writing, which is like we have writing, they don't know how to read our writings. So for them, it's just like drawings. Once they say we didn't have writing, meaning like we don't have a culture, we don't have a culture, we don't have a way of approaching life, we don't have a way of understanding life. They were wrong because our way of life, in our tradition is purely oral. We keep records, through lineages, you know. So some of us through the colonization, some of us got kind of colonized, 100% or even 200%, and even we will be doing a great job for the colonizer in the place of the colonizer. But at the core of every individual, I went to university, I went to university with my degrees and all of that, but that did not take away, from me the nature of my culture and the nature of my lineage, and then who I am and all of that. Why? Because we have a system of education that's called the initiation. We have like initiation camps where every child at the age of between 7 and 14, you know, you have to enter the initiation camps where you get to now learn yourself first before you go to learn what the European are bringing to teach you or whatever they impose. Now, on the political aspect, I mean, the educational aspect, it wasn't really bad. It's not really bad. But once we move it to the political aspect, over there, I would say that it's very bad. It's very bad because we're not even allowed to practice according to with the laws, with the way the government are function, with the way we copy, our countries copy the Western way of doing things. We're not even allowed to practice our cultures. We're not allowed to practice certain things. You have to, in some places, you have to hide, to be able to do your things. And that's really something that came to kind of put some of the uh, knowledges and wisdom that kind of were already acquired into the forgetfulness. I said into the forgetfulness. I didn't say that we lost it, as I said, because the tradition of our continent is more like oral. So once you hear something, you don't It doesn't go. Well, you can read something and forget about it because that's image. Because you read something, you see it today, tomorrow you see another image, and then you have the tendency to forget the image that you saw yesterday. But once you hear something, you never forget it. It will stay there. Now, even if you think that you've forgotten it, it takes, something else to be said. That may be like in correlation or that's linked to whatever you've heard before. And then you will activate again, you remember. The brain has that kind of ability. So we have many, I would say maybe 40% of the population over there in our continent that's kind of is living in the forgetfulness. But that forgetfulness is just for a moment because already when you look around Africa now, what tradition, there's a lot of revolution happening now, especially what's happening in the Sahara area. A lot of things happening where on May 15th, the government our government in Burkina Faso, is celebrating the culture, the Burkina culture and Burkina customs and, traditions and all of that, which is something that is reminding everybody, you need to go back to your village. You need to go and check on the elders and you need to go and sit under the elders, with the elders and learn, from them and all of that. So we we are in the period of forgetfulness, almost like in the period of amnesia. Some of us that really got kind of, painted very well, but it's not going to be for long before it's kind of, it comes back. Because the way the knowledge, actually, the wisdom that we all are sharing now, we all are carrying, the way that the knowledge functions is that it's kind of encrypted in your DNA right away, in the blood. So because the knowledge belongs to the, lineage, and then the lineage has some, powers of nature or some principles that are coming from nature or from the other celestial bodies that contain that kind of controlling it, then automatically everybody who's born in that lineage or who's born in that village or in the culture has it already encrypted in the DNA in the blood to the point where it will just take, something magical, something mysterious, something accidental or an incident to kind of create that kind of trigger where you will come to the realization that your consciousness will wake you up, out of that kind of amnesia, that forgetfulness, So I will not say that, colonization really destroy us that much on our being, natural being, but on our perspective, where we're going, you know, that's really like where the colonization was able to target and then kind of create whatever it has to create to get us to, get lost a little bit. But still, there's hope. There's hope. Yeah.
There's hope. There's always hope. I actually live that myself. In Cameroon, I noticed how colonization really shifted the identities and, the perceptions, like you said, Naba Iritah, where people would not teach their children how to speak their native language, and then they would consider themselves superior,
Yeah.
right? It's completely, upside down. And so these new generations at some point were not connected,
Mhm.
to the lineage, to the language, to the culture, to the rituals, to the customs. And that happened a lot and a lot. And so this is something that in a lot of indigenous cultures, we are called to the modern world. And I love what you're saying, which is that first of all, there is hope because all these things are encoded into our
Yeah.
DNA because everybody is indigenous to somewhere.
Mhm.
And, you know, consciousness can be awakened in a moment,
No.
without either of us knowing. It's like there's an incident, you hear something, you see something, you experience something, and boom, it's like you're awakened.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that's why I'm really enjoying this. I've been thinking about this, today. You having me today. I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, well, it looks like you know, even if we can consider ourselves modern, or we can consider ourselves being part of the modern society or Western society, it looks like the awakening is happening. And then once again, just like honor to those ancestors who kind of left some prophecies behind, because at some point, the reason why we call ourselves humanity is because we live together at some point. We learn how to live together, how to share together, how to do things together, where we learn that, your culture starts from here to here, and then when you reach this river, your culture finish here, and that's the culture of my culture that's starting from that river to maybe the next mountain, and then from there, that will be like another person culture, starting from there to the desert and all. So we learn that way, in the way that humanity was, under the same fabric, under the same fabric, and the goal, being humanity's that preservation of everything that history taught us, and history, and all of that. So with the political approach of humanity at this point, this is getting us to uh, forget our nature, to kind of this detach from our nature, to become something that is more like a utopic, become something that is like a vision, you know. But you will understand our cultures, in our cultures, we don't live life, or we don't approach life, we don't approach our space based on what's gonna happen tomorrow. That we face it based on what happened yesterday and what we deal with today. And then with that, we living in the past so that we can correct the future. But here we are in in the modern way of approaching things, where like allowing us to dream. But what is being forgotten by the big institution and big political, groups, is that at some point, everybody will wake up from the dream. You don't dream forever. You have to wake up, and then this is really like the wake up call, that putting together, by bringing all of the keepers of the wisdom together, because that's like the wake up call. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I really just really say thank you for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Keepers of Humanity
Yeah.
Global Conference is
Yeah.
your wake-up call.
Yeah.
Aho.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. This conference was a direct celestial mission, instructions, where the time is now
Yeah.
to really bring, this wisdom out in the forefront so that, it can benefit humanity.
Especially the younger generation.
Yes, yes,
The
yes,
younger
yes.
generation, our children, we really have to think about the legacy that we have to leave for those children. And our ancestors left good stuff for us, somehow we kind of play too much with it. But we're waking up now to take it serious, be like, oh no, this is not to be played with. This needs to be taken care of. So, we just have to find a way for the younger generation to feel that, because all of us healers on this conference, once you're a healer, you have to make sure that, in your family, there's a grain that you already planted that will kind of sprout at some point to kind of take over, and we just don't do healing. As I said, you have to do healing thinking about your surrounding, thinking about everything around you. And you don't get to be a healer. And then once you leave this planet, then the healing stop. It has to continue. It has to continue, because it can happen in the visible. it will also happen in the invisible. So, once you leave someone behind, you taught someone, trained someone to be your replacement at some point. Once you go, the person will be doing it in the material, realm, but your spirit, will still be doing it, in the non-material realm, where there's going to be that connection between the one that you left here representing you, and then you yourself on the other side while you're preparing to come back. We believe in reincarnation. We believe in, life after death. So we know that our ancestors are still working. And if anyone wants to say that our ancestors are not working, then they have to justify why we're having this conference, how we all got to come together to have this conference. Somehow our ancestors are sitting somewhere, also coming together to be like, it's time. We bring our children together, we bring our descendants together so that they can create, some manifestation. And I feel like, this is really like the phenomenon of the ancestor doing something in the invisible that some of us who are gifted will see it, will know it. Some of us who are not will still question, but one day they will wake up to realize that as well. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Whew, blown away.
Thank you.
Um, it's I can't even find words. So let's continue. As you speaking, you really brought to mind the concept of the passage of time, the ancestors, the past, the future, and the present, right? And so I wanted to ask you, according to the Dogon, what year is it now, actually?
Well, we are in the year 423 of the Sidereal calendar. The Sidereal calendar is a calendar that's based on the Sirius star. I mean, the Dogons, that's, some people say that that's where our ancestors are coming from. We will take it. But somehow it's this celestial body that has like a big effect on uh, Mother Earth and on our life that we tend to forget, and then we will prefer to follow the cycle of the moon or follow the cycle of the sun. But according to the archives that our ancestors left for us, the moon does not have a perfect cycle. What's a cycle? A cycle is something that starts from one point and then travel in a timely manner to come back to that same point and repeatedly doing it to come back to the same point, you know. But when we notice our life on Earth, the moon, sometimes the moon does not respect its cycle. So because we see the moon, coming, getting full, and then disappearing, does not mean that it's a cycle. Because to consider the cycle of the moon, we have to consider the orbits on which the moon moves. So does the moon, move on its orbits in a timely manner where it respects its position? Every time the moon doesn't do that. But do we see the moon every night? And do we see the full moon every 30 days? Yes, we do. But that's just like a natural phenomenon that happen where like we get to see it, that way. But what about the travel that the moon itself is doing? From our position on Earth, we see the moon as a cycle. But once you're able to, project yourself to be out of, that position where we are on Earth, you will understand that the moon has its own orbit that it kind of moves on. And then that orbit, it takes the moon about 18 years, 18 years of the way we count our years, you know, to be able to, come back to the same point. And then it's not always, accurate. The sun, the same thing. The sun has its own orbit that it moves on. We wake up every day, we see it, right? But we see it rise, we see it set, and then we count it 24 hours. To be exact, 23 hours, 54 minutes and something. That's really like if we have to really be, systematical about the way the sun moves. But the sun on its own orbit, it takes the sun about 54 years, 54 times 365 days to be able to, do, the journey on its orbit to come back. So reason why we have the concept of the eclipse, because I don't think so far, even the modern perception can understand why eclipse, are happening, because those celestial bodies live in some type of harmony where like all of them have to function certain way. Like all of the celestial bodies that we see, the galaxies, the Milky Ways, and all of that, they have to function certain way. Now, we forgot one thing. We forgot that Mother Earth is a celestial body that we're standing on. That's what we forgot most of the time. So when people ask the Dogon, how did we get our ancestors got to understand the celestial bodies and then all of the stars in the star system? That's because at some point they came to the realization that if we live in a universe, there's a reason why we call it a universe, meaning like many things coming to get function as one. So if we call universe and then we consider everything to be functional as one in that universe, and then we see all of the other ones, the one we're standing on, what about that one? Now, if we consider the one that we're standing on, we wake up on, our destiny is linked to, that means that that one also is in relation with the other celestial bodies. Maybe Mother Earth is in relation with the moon. Mother Earth is in relation with the sun. Mother Earth is in relation with the rest of the celestial bodies, so they communicate. That's why we talk about the macrocosmic dialogue of energy, because in the macro. Now, the macrocosmic dialogue of energy tells us that Mother Earth has information about the Sirius star, has information about the moon, has information about the sun located in its memory, in its energy core. So we have a system of divination that allow the Dogon to go to dig deep into the memory of the earth and then retrieve like the information that we need. Now, for us to be able to find out about Series A, Series B, Series C, all of that, it's not because we traveled there. It's because somehow our technology that we call it, divination, but some people call it technology. But our technology allow us to be able to identify that other things exist that we don't see with our naked eye. But somehow Mother Earth being in relation with those things, it allow us to see them and then to enter into contacts with them. Now, the time, when you look at our calendar following the Sirius star is 1460 days. That's what we call a year, but we call it the small year. Okay, meaning like when you divide 1460 days into 4, you will get 365 days 3 times plus 366 one time. So 1461 will be like the completion of a small year for us that we call it the War in World Day, meaning every 4 years. There's a reason why in America when election happen, it happen every 4 years. They're following that system. So every 4 years, a cycle is considered a cycle according to the Sirius star system. Now, every 1461 year, we have what we call it the great year. That's the great cycle, meaning like that's the cycle where The Sirius star itself leaves one position and then completes its travel and come back to the same position on its orbit, the same time. So that's the big cycle. That big cycle is a cycle that contains the cycle of the sun, the cycle of the moon, the cycle of all of the other stars that we may see. Venus, we have the moon cycle too. There is the Venus cycle, and all of them are within that cycle. But that cycle is big. It's so big, and that's why the Sirius star is the one that control all of those other celestial bodies that we can see from our position on Earth, because those are the one we can see, and those are the one that we can follow if we have if we don't have a clear system of approaching time and space. But when you are a culture that has a good system of approaching time and space, you can follow 1461 year, because it's kind of things that you keep the record of and all of that. So in our months, we have 13 months in our calendar. We don't have 12 months, we have 13 months. And those 13 months, we have the month of 30 days only, plus 1 month, 12 months of 30 days, plus 1 month of 5 days. That month of 5 days is the month that we call the birth of the gods. During that period, there's certain astronomical and divinely phenomenon that happen in human existence that somehow our ancestors were able to record and then keep it in archives, and then we follow that. Now we have, when you look at the discrepancies of the calendar that we follow nowadays, the Gregorian calendar, for understanding, that's a calendar that's based on Pope Gregory. Okay, just wake up one day. This is how we count our time. It's not based on any astronomical star, or any astronomical calculation or anything like that. It's just like someone wake up today, say this is what we do. So when you look in that calendar, you have months that are 30 days, months that are 31 days, months that are 28 or 29 days, and then so and so. And then the biggest problem for humanity, even most of us being like the wisdom, keepers sharing this, for us to really be able to fit in our manifestation, energetic, spiritual manifestation, and our divine being, we have to learn how to fit and understand the space and the time in which we are. In my culture, we say when you don't know the time, that means you don't know yourself. Someone who doesn't know what time it is does not know themselves. So we have to know the time, not the time that is decided religiously or not the time that's decided politically, but we have to know the time that universally is a time that we follow. When you look in nature, there's nothing in nature that comes in 7. Then we have the weeks, our weeks, that comes into 7. That's the second discrepancy in the way our calendar is functioning. We have 1, we can have 2, we can have 5, we can have 10, but 1, 2, 2, 1, that's the only thing we have as human being. So in nature, that's the same thing you see. Everything comes in 1, in 2, in 3, but nothing will come in 7. 1, 2, 3, 5. Rarely you will see something in nature that's naturally made that comes into 7. But somehow there's a story behind why, the colonial system is using the weeks of 7 days. There's a reason. But somehow our calendar, the Sadir calendar, uses the 10-week days, meaning you can count like your days just, looking at your arms. Practically, you can just count your days, follow your time, just following your hands and then following your toes, whatever you want to follow you. But you can count your time that way. And there are specific days for honoring the spirits of those who walk the planet before us, according to that calendar. Meaning, according to the astronomy and the powers of the celestial bodies, there are days that those powers honor those who kept this planet the way it is before us. And then there are days that, we celebrate those powers themselves too, right, in that calendar. When I'm going to give a third discrepancy, just because we share them, so that everybody gets to know, how to shift so that we can manifest our potential energetically and spiritually. When we count our days, and then the times. Right now it's what time is it? Okay, it's almost 2 p.m. here in Texas. So we count the time, normally the days, because we see the sunrise. And when the sun sets, we know that the day is finished and the night is starting, right? And when it's noon, meaning the middle of the day, we say that 1 hour after the middle of the day, we are in the night, but the sun is still up. Because to go from noon to 1 p.m., we start counting the night already. So we go from the middle of the day to the night in 60 minutes, which is bad for anyone practicing spirituality, which is bad for anyone working with plants, which is bad for anyone working with nature. Because for the sun or for nature, the night is when the sun sets completely. So the same thing apply when we are at midnight, the middle of the night, midnight. So from midnight, 60 minutes after midnight, we are 1 a.m. and we say that we are in the new day. So if you were born, if a baby was born yesterday, was born like last night around 1 a.m. in Texas, we will say that that child is born on Sunday. So we went from the middle of the night, 60 minutes later, we're like in the new day. But which is wrong, because we even counting our days that we are born, our dates that we are born wrongly. So we don't even fit the time. We don't fit the astronomical power and the astronomical principle that control all of this. So from that time, we will say that that child is born on Sunday, which is like the sun still have like 4 hours before it rises. So normally in our culture, that kind of birth, we will say that that child was born in Saturday night, not in Sunday, right? So then the other thing is that the way we count the months, even the names of the months in the Gregorian calendar, is that we are in the month of May. Let me leave that behind and then go forward. In a few months, we'll be in the month of September. And September, according to the Gregorian calendar, is the 9th month of the year. But the name that we use to identify that month, that period of the year, is September, which brings the concept of sept in French, 7 in English. So why would we call a month a period that is the 9th period in a year using the concept of sept or 7? Same with August. August is 8 in a Latin or anything, that's like 8. It comes with oct, so that's like 8. So we call the 8 months of I mean the 10th month of the October. We call the 10th month of the year October. It comes with the 8th. November, same thing. We call the 11th month of the year the 9th. Nuevo, neuf, 9. December, same. The 12th month of the year, we call it December, like this in French. And then 10 or this, Decan in Roman. So technically, we have a calendar that's run for us, which is in the benefit of the political and the religious, rulers. But for us, as the wisdom keepers and all of that, these are the things that we have to let humanity know that, like, hey, our time is upside down. And because our time is upside down, then everything we'll be doing without that awareness, we'll be doing everything also upside down. So our calendar, the Dogon calendar, is a calendar that's based on purely the astronomic, events and the astronomical principle, where it kind of just follow everything. And once you follow that calendar, you just have an alignment with how the celestial bodies themselves are functioning. Like, you will not tell me that, brother Naba, I need some medicine for malaria, and then I'm not wishing that on you, but I need some medicine for malaria, and then if that medicine needs to be, if the researches or the wisdom that I gained from the ancestors say that to get that medicine, that plant, you need to go at the first hour of the day. You have to go get that medicine at the first hour of the day. If I wake up at midnight and then go looking for that medicine at 1 a.m., that's not the first hour of the day. I have to go there at 5 a.m., which is the first hour of the day. So then I'm choosing, or I'm picking that medicine wrongly, because I'm not respecting the principle of the plant that's telling me that, no, it's when the first rays of the sun are perceived, that's when you need to come get me to be used, to heal and all of that. So we have all of those discrepancies that, in our approach to time, I mean, the modern approach to time and space, we just like out of order, and we just like out of alignment, and it's affecting us at the same time, to the point where, your patient will not really appreciate you, because you're using the secrets, you're using the powers to give to the person, but because it's being used in a wrong conception of time and space, then it's kind of off. Then that's really like the problem we're dealing with. But our calendar, we like in 423 now, and we celebrate our New Year's. This calendar finish every September. So most of the time between September 11 or September 10th, that's when our calendar finish, and then the new cycle start. So in our calendar, we have the great year, which is 1461 years, and then the small year, which is 1461 days, and then we have the seasonal year, the one that everybody's following, 365 days. So we have that one too. So that's just seasonal, because we call it a year, we call it a cycle, but it's not really a cycle, because winter doesn't come every year at the same day, the same time. Winter doesn't come that way. And summer doesn't start, every year at the same day, the same time. No, it doesn't do that. So it's just seasonal. And then in our culture, we call it seasonal because that's the one that the farmers follow. That's one that we want to farm, we follow that one to kind of be able to be in alignment with the season, to be able to plant, harvest, and then prepare the land and all of that. So that's just like how our calendar came to be.
Wow. I just came to a lot of realizations as you were sharing this, because, the names of those months absolutely make no sense, because, December, decimal, it's 10, November, 9, October, octogenarian. Everybody knows that it's somebody who's 80, but it's the 10th. I never even thought about this. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for
no problem.
illuminating and bringing this wisdom to
Thank you.
us.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I want
so
to tell our audience that if you have a question, please type it in the chat as we continue our conversation. I'm sorry, you were about to say something, Naba Iritah.
yeah, what I was about to add is that with the time not being very well perceived, the manifestation of the energies, as I was saying, like we live in an environment, and we live even in our own house. We live in an environment, and our personality, our identity reflects in our house. So the picture that you have on the wall, the the flower that you have in the pot, the way you display everything in your kitchen, in your house, in your bedroom, everything manifests energies. Everything somehow carries your identity, and then you carry the identity of all of those things that are present in your house to the point where you just have to close your eyes, and then you know where you have your coffee mug, or you know where you have your coffee table. So with that kind of understanding that we exchange energy with everything that is in our presence, and that's just like a physical. Now imagine the non-physical aspect of existence that's around us every day, because this is not empty. It still exists. So in that manifestation, the dialogue of energy, the way we dialogue with everything in our surrounding is at the same time, something that comes to sustain ourselves. We talk about all of the war and all of the problems, and physical problems and health problems and everything that's happened around the world, depression and stress and cancers and all of that. I mean, in our researches, lately, because in our culture, we don't know those kind of sicknesses. You come from Cameroon. It's rarely you see someone say that I'm stressed, or you see someone in depression in Africa. Because for us, life is just life, right? And even cancer and all of those kind of things, sorry, you know, send good prayers to everybody suffering now. But the situation is that the way we interact with our surrounding, and the dialogue of the energy that's there, we emit energy, they receive, they emit energy, we have to be able to receive. Same thing about the plants, the tree that's in your garden, or the tree that's in front of your door, or maybe in the city where you live. Everything that exists that kind of gets to grow from the earth is an entity that the earth respects very well, and to the point where it feeds its energy to the thing. And we have to be able to learn how to receive from them, because we can see a flower and be like, wow, this flower is so beautiful. We manifested an energy. We manifested, we kind of express ourselves towards the flower. But the flower is a being. It's not a human being, but it's a being that's alive. So the flower also manifests itself. And somehow our vibration, if our vibration is not at the level where we can send, we can feel the communication of the flowers communicating to us, then the communication end up becoming like one way, and then not like two ways, which is like a lack of dialogue. To have a dialogue, you have to have that kind of expression, reception, expression, and all of that, right? So once there's no dialogue, then life become linear. And when life become linear, meaning like there's no more rhythm in life. But life is about rhythm. What makes life going It's about rhythm, having that rhythmic, waves and everything. That's what makes life go on. So when we don't have that, we also, undermining ourselves slowly, not like drastically, no, but slowly we undermining ourselves to the point where like everything surrounding us is manifesting, but we're not receiving. And then we just function based on whatever we only manifested. And then at the end, we end up causing like those energetic, spiritual, because those beings are energetic and spiritual. They're also material. So we end up, causing those kind of blockages in our being at the same time because it's like energetic, spiritual, and physical being. So this is one thing also like I really want to share with all of the fellow, healers and wisdom keepers. Like we need to start training people to learn how to vibrate with everything that is surrounding us and then receiving from them as well, or they leave. They leave. I have this is I think you know this is Alison Shah. I really respect Alison for everything. When I read her book and everything with the how the animals manifest and everything, I'm like this lady is a genie, because that's like how I mean that's how like in our tradition we perceive existence to be. Everything that exists has to manifest. Everything that exists deserve our, reverence in order for us to learn from them, and then in order for us to kind of benefit from something from them. Mm. So that's really something that I wanted to add. Yeah.
Mic drop. Wow, so good.
Okay.
And yes, exactly. That's, how I aspire to live as
Yeah.
well. And, this, I love the word dialogue that you are using because it kind of takes away this part of us that might think, I don't believe that. It's not possible, right? But when you think of it as dialogue, then even when humans or humans with their pets communicate, it's like you send a transmission
Mhm.
and then you wait for the transmission to be received
Yep.
and then you wait to hear back, even if it's with your dog, even if it's with your friend, right? I take the phone for example. Sometimes you send a text message to somebody and then you're like waiting for the answer and then the answer tomorrow, right? But we are so impatient sometimes where it's like, oh, I went outside and I touched a tree and I didn't feel anything. Well,
Yeah.
maybe the tree needed a time, to take a breath, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Especially if your energies are already too heavy and then you yourself you're struggling to align, then the tree will have to filter all of the things. We have to filter before it kind of gets to give you the response that will help you, kind of get lighter or realign yourself. So it's like that kind of understanding that we just have to, share with people.
Yes. So there's a question here from Guy that I can answer right away, where says, "Can you give us the name of that woman he mentioned, please, Alison?" So Alison Charles was one of the featured speakers. She spoke about power animal. I wrote a chapter on that book on the black jaguar. So she talks about power animals, and so it's about communicating with the energies and the spirits and the knowledge and wisdom and benevolence of spirit guides from the animal kingdom.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that book. I really like
Yeah,
the perspective and all of that. Yeah.
yeah. And there's a question here from Valerie who says, what if one is in a family that really are not into all that was spoken about here and in the summit? There is no one for me directly to pass on seeds. So I feel like a black sheep of sorts. But maybe someone in generations to come might shift and awaken But for now, I feel my own work will be in my energy field and it might touch theirs. And who knows what might happen. Actually, I think you're answering your own question, but did you want to say something about
Ye-
that?
Yeah, I mean, well, you become I always like the concept, when people say that they are the black sheep, of a group of people or of a family and all of that. You cannot be considered as a healer or as a pathfinder and be like everyone. That's not possible. And for you to be already identified as black sheep or you know anything like that in your family or in your environment and all of that already tells you like the potential. You are different. Now, the work at that moment is not to focus the energy on, you know, looking for compassion from, that environment. The work is for you to focus on trying to cause healing for all of those that are in your environment to also, start kind of elevating to vibrate at that level. It's painful to be a healer. It's not always fun. To be a pathfinder is not always fun. It's just like, it's almost like if I have to choose my destiny again, I would be like, I think but somehow I love it. I learned to love it and I learned to, approach it with the highest vibration of myself and the highest resonance of my predispositions. So to be a black sheep means that you just have some predispositions that the environment you find yourself in does not understand, but they will understand when you really make them the target and then creating that harmony in you, and then you end up attracting their attention and you fix them. When it comes to who you want to pass it down, hey, that's why we have the opportunity to share. You never know who on this call is listening, is reading what you type, and then the person will be contacting you. I want to be your disciple. That's why there's the concept of master and then disciple, you know. So you will have to, give yourself that chance to also like, align with whatever Mother Earth and powers will manifest. And they will always bring someone to learn from you who will end up, taking whatever you already accomplished to the next level of it. And you will just be proud. So I pray that you get someone in the family or someone, on the planet because human family to choose to be walking your path and be your disciple and then learn from you.
Thank you for that perspective. Yes, yes, yes to that.
Yeah,
And for everybody in the audience, Naba Iritah has an amazing, incredible free gift for you. And it's called Indigenous African Natural Healing Recipes.
very.
Explore 13 authentic West African recipes. And did you want to say a few words about that?
Yes, we when my father traveled in America for the first time, one thing he realized is that the healing the approach to human health is more like a chemical and from tubes to tubes and from labs and all of that. And he has a funny story that he always tell us when he comes home. He's like, you guys know that people take medicine there to heal headaches, and then that medicine is potentially possibly will cause them like to have a high blood pressure, diabetes, and all kind of you start citing and then laughing. We're like, what kind of medicine is that? Even us being children, we're like, what kind of medicine is that you take to heal your headache, and then it causes like all of the other problem. So that brought him the inspiration to be like, man, we have plants here, it's tea, it's part of our food every day. Our sauces that we eat are like medicine. Things that we do every day is like, we use medicine every day. He brought the concept like, okay, he needs to take the recipes to, to the West and start sharing with people, and then making it available for people to know that there's other ways of approaching human health at the same time. And because we are natural beings, we vibrate. We are warm-blooded being. We absorb light just like the same way the trees absorb light. The plants absorb light and they breathe and everything. Let me bring them the same, technique and then the same recipes for them to start using. So after he passed away, my team and I, the other disciple and I, we worked hard to make sure that tradition is not forgotten. And then we developed a nonprofit that's called Ancestor Natural Healing. Ancestor comes from the hieroglyph, the Medunate words, Ankh meaning like eternal life, Ka, the spirit, Asta, the goddess Isis. So meaning like the eternal life through the powers of the goddess, Isis, who was known for her healing abilities and powers and all of that. So again, a mother, right? A mother again, a woman. So we kind of create the organization where we work with a network of healers, about maybe what 2000, maybe 2000, about a network of 2000 healers, but they are like lineages of healers from the time all the way now, and also a network of priesthoods that we talk to, and then we kind of do the work. It help us preserve the recipes at the same time. Meaning, like, if it wasn't because of Lancaster and the way we created that network, some of the recipes in some villages or some lineages and some families would have been forgotten a long time ago. So we kind of keeping a record of all of that, and then we even working to create a book, to write a book that I was thinking to call it the Encyclopedia of Natural Healing or something like that, come up with some names. And then from the Dogon perspective. So then I will put recipes, simple things, things that you have in your kitchen, things that you see every day, it's kind of medicine. But because we don't know how to put them together, that's like you from Iritah, like spices are like the main thing in our diet, which takes care of the organs right away before even you think about having like indigestion. Your mother will cook in the way that indigestion will never happen, So, so we have that organization that's working, and the website is www.anh/life .org, I think, so when you go on it and then you will see everything we have. We offer spiritual services, we offer healing services, we offer also coaching, services, for all kind of problems that people are dealing with. Mm. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Of course, and we will have that information for you if you want to support this powerful, wisdom keeper here and the Dogon culture. So you will have where you can reach, Naba, Iritah, Shenmira. You will have his different websites and projects that are coming up in, any way you would like to support that work. We are so grateful. And yeah, I'm so excited. And Jocelyn has put the website here on the chat for you. So what I would recommend is you can just copy and paste it on your browser. And then at the end of our talk, you can go and explore and see how you can support this powerful work that is really here to raise, and benefit humanity.
Very much. Thank you, sister.
Yes, yes. Thank you, brother. I just want to, humbly and with reverence, really, express all our gratitude
Thank you.
for the powerful healings. I don't know if you guys felt, but I did. Healing that you have brought here to us the
Yeah.
messages, the downloads, the awakening that, all of us have experienced here. And really so much gratitude,
Uh,
honoring your father, the ancestors, the Dogon culture, and all the team behind you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister. Thank you for the opportunity and yeah, the blessings of the powers within, to kind of manifest as we journey together, as we try in our respective, corner, trying to do what we're trying to do one day to really, come to become that humanity. Mm, yeah,
Thank you
thank you,
so
sister.
much.
Yeah,
And, thanking you, the audience, because without you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you for, allowing yourself to have these experiences and to
mm,
come and grow and be and love and transform together. This is Dr. Marie Mbuni from Keepers of Humanity.